Happens, and this is one of my favorite pictures on what it looks like when you guys are having an attitude. This girl has an attitude. This is what you look like when your parents tell you to go clean your room.
This is what I look like when a little short white girl tells me to do something.
You give that look. That's the look. And so what I want tonight to talk to you about, what I want to talk to you about tonight is this whole matter of forgiving each other, forgiving yourself, and what God's view of forgiveness is. When somebody says something bad to me, when somebody hurts me, and all of you in here, I would tell you, every single one of you have somebody in your life right now that you need to extend forgiveness to. As this night progresses a little bit, I want you to think of that one person and keep that person in your mind. As soon as I start talking about it, somebody popped in. Don't say anything out loud, but somebody popped into your mind. There's somebody that hurt you, somebody that hurried by you, somebody that did something to you, somebody that made you feel worthless, made you, somebody that scolded your boyfriend or girlfriend, maybe your parents have hurt you. There's somebody in your life that did something or said something to you, and to this day you remember it. And it's burned in your heart and it's burned on your mind. Tonight I want you to think about that person. And as we walk through some of these things, I want you to think about that person. Now God's Word is very clear about this forgiveness thing. Colossians 3:13. Make allowances for each other's faults. We live in a world of people that are not perfect. And make allowances for those people's faults. And forgive anyone who offends you. Anyone who offends you. Remember it. Or how do you do that? By remembering that the Lord forgave you. So you have to forgive others. Now, I'm going to do something tonight that I don't usually do. I'm going to give you the whole entire outline in front. Because I want you to understand perfectly where we're going. I don't want us to get lost. And I don't want you to lose the picture of that person that's in your head that hurts you. And I want us to answer three questions. Why should I forgive them? Who should I forgive? And then finally, how do I forgive? So I want us to talk about first why. Why, David, do we have to forgive? And I want to give you, going back to the verse in Colossians, God says, look, I understand that it's going to be difficult for you to forgive. But this is why you need to. This is why you have to. And I don't use that have to word very often because it's very difficult for me. But the first thing, why, is for you. Forgiveness, when you forgive someone, you are choosing freedom. Let me tell you what the bondage that most of you are living under, and you know how I know you're living under it? Because I am too. When you refuse to forgive somebody, you become bound to that. It is your anger that you live with every day. That person probably doesn't even know you're mad at them. That person doesn't even give a rip that they destroyed your life. And yet you are bound and chained in this cage called unforgiveness. And let me tell you, it's a lonely, miserable place. And why should you forgive? Because that's choosing freedom for you. That is choosing to open the door of that gate and walk out. For the first time in your life, some of you are going to be free from that anger that you have. That tight, tense gut feeling that wrenches you inside out. That is the choice you need to make to be free from that forgiveness. I will tell you, there's some people in your lives that hurt you in the deepest way. A friend that said they'd be your friend and they were not your friend. A parent that said they'd stick by you when it was important and they didn't. There are some very deep, damaging things that happen to us as people that live in this world. There's a verse in Psalms that talks about this world groans under the pain of sin. Do you know what that groaning is? That's you and me in anguish because we can't get rid of that thing in our life that hurt us so badly. And that is a bondage. It is a cage that cages most of us for the greater part of our lives. And God said, look, I want you to choose freedom. The second that you forgive, it's like the gates swing open and there's a freedom like you've never had before to not be angry anymore, to be around that person and not have your gut in a knot. There's great freedom in forgiveness. but you've got to choose it. It doesn't happen accidentally. Why should you forgive? Because that choice means freedom for you. There's a second reason why you should forgive. Because God's Word commands it. Did you see, and I know some of you don't know the Greek, and I don't know it as well as I'd like to, but if you look at the Greek text when he says, so also do you, it is the strongest. When you put words together in the Greek, they become stronger. It's one of the strongest things you can put together, as if to say, this is not optional. You must do this. Why would God tell us we must do this? Because He knows the only way to freedom is this path. You must forgive. It's not optional. You say, well, David, you don't know what they did to me. No, I don't know what they did, and I know it's a deep wound in your soul. But you must forgive them. Your life cannot go on. You cannot progress towards Christ any farther. Tonight becomes accountability for some of you. Tonight, some of you have come face to face in your mind with that person that hurts you. And maybe over time, the old phrase, time heals all wounds. No, it doesn't. Forgiveness heals all wounds, not time. Time buries the wound, and it becomes easier to live with, but it doesn't go away. You have to choose forgiveness. Why? Because God commands it. Because God knows that you're not going on with your life until you do. Choose freedom, and God commands it. There's a third reason, too. Because it copies Christ. The word Christian means little Christs. Do you understand that Christ was completely about forgiveness? He's hanging on the cross. And you know what He says? Father, forgive these people. They don't even know what they're doing. They have no idea what they're doing. On the cross. You think about that for 1 second. You stop and just think about that for a minute. Here's a guy who's been through 2 days of torture. They are laughing and spitting on him. He is hanging naked above everybody else, and they are playing a game for his clothes. His mother is there.